Right, you're very welcome back. Now, we're going to help launch the 2020 Federation of Irish Sport Volunteers in Sports Awards, supported by EBS. The awards will see EBS and the Federation of Irish Sport reward the work of volunteers from around the country who go above and beyond every day to ensure that sport takes place in Ireland. Volunteers in Sport in Ireland dedicate some 37.5 million hours of volunteering across the country, 13,000 plus sports clubs and associations every year. And EBS wants to recognise that dedication and that passion through this partnership with the Federation of Irish Sport. And there's going to be an awards ceremony this November. Check out volunteersinsport.ie. We'll tweet the link to that, and you can make nominations for, you can nominate a club, you can nominate an individual or a sports body, and they're open from the 30th of July all the way through to the middle of September. So September 25th is the closing date for those nominations. So you've got a little while, and to help tell you the type of thing that we're looking for, I'm delighted to say Kieran Donaghy joins us alongside Jimmy Diggins. Gents, you're both very welcome. And Kieran, we obviously know you very well, but Jimmy, this is our first time chatting to you properly. How are you?
Very good, very well, thank God.
Can you give us some details about how much of a nightmare Kieran Donaghy's child was running around the club causing trouble? Spill the beans, please, Jimmy.
Well, he was always very enthusiastic about to play any sport. And I caught up with him first when he was young, for about 16 years of age, playing basketball with a local club here in Tralee St. Brendan's. And I knew at that stage that he had massive talent, and it was only just to nurture it and to get the right people behind him and the right coaches, and he was going to take off and be a star like he is.
And are you responsible for the nickname Star?
No, that came from a local pub that we attend, the Greyhound Bar. Kieran can tell you that story, but he turned out to be a star anyway, so it was a good name for him. But he was very young when he got it. I remember he had that name when he was about 18 or 19, when he was treading the boards in the basketball courts.
Very good. Lucky enough. Kieran, all joking aside, the importance of volunteers is something that all sports have, and some sports are better at telling the story about their volunteers, but there would be no gymnastics, there would be no boxing, there would be no ballet, there would be no park runs. There would be nothing happening if people didn't actually give up of their time. And actually it's getting harder and harder for people to find time. So it's a good thing for us to tell the story that volunteers are a huge part of our society and our community, and they're helping to keep the wheels greased of our society.
Yeah, 100%. Look, they're so important, from the kids all the way up. But if you look at any of the top Irish sports stars that we ever had, it would have started with a volunteer that would have caught them. And you know, it's about engaging youngsters. It's about kind of trying to get them on the hook for the sport that you love, and then trying to put that, you know, towards the child and hope that they follow your lead almost. With, you know, and Jimmy says that I always showed great enthusiasm because I loved what I was doing. I loved football and basketball, and the coaches that I would have had from ages up. You know, I know Jimmy knows the great James Hobbart, who would have kind of created the first bit of basketball in Tralee, I suppose, with the likes of Jimmy. But James was with me when I was under 10s and under 12s, and you know, he just ignited a little fire inside me about the game, and his enthusiasm, and his you know, the support he'd give you, and the kind of, he'd make you feel good coming off the pitch. If you're only catching a ball, he used to throw a ball up into the air and you used to go out and catch it, and he'd be like, out of the clouds, Donaghy, boy, that's a massive catch. And I'd jog back into the line kind of going, let's go, let's bring on the next jump that I can run out for. So I was mad to run out and try and catch the ball to impress him. So very basic stuff, but he lit that little spark inside me, and you know, it's huge. And I had a person similar in basketball, Shawnee Burrows, who is an Irish international, who I used to be watching the Super League team training. I had interest in the game, obviously, the fact that I was up there on a Friday night in the complex the night before they used to play. It was a more relaxed training session. The complex was a bigger, I was able to shoot around in the side baskets. But I was watching them, and Shawnee was obviously watching me, and I used to shoot with my elbow to the side, and Shawnee straightened in my elbow. Now, Jimmy will tell you he mightn't have done a good enough job straightening my elbow, because some of my three-pointers would be a bit wayward. But, you know, the way he described it, and the reasons why he described it, I had to get this hand in, was that the shot would be straight, and that the action would be straight, and I'd score more. And of course, when you do a massive adjustment like that in your shot, everything, you can't even hit the ring for the first day or two. But he told me, he said, you'll get frustrated with it, but he said, stick with it, and I'll see you back here Friday night, and you should be going a bit better. And true enough, the following Friday night, I came back and I kind of had it figured out, and I was making more shots and I was more consistent. And again, just took a bit of time out of his day, but shooting became a huge part of my game as an Irish international underage. I was a very good 3-point shooter. So, you know, little things like that, it all goes back to a volunteer. So they are crucial in every walk of life, even with all the charity stuff we saw over COVID. You know, it was lots of people volunteering to raise money for people, to do stuff for people. And it shows the goodwill that we have in the Irish people. And this is a great way to recognise it. And, you know, I even said about nominating people, that if you nominate somebody in your club or in your or that has helped you in some way over the years, you know, when you nominate them to volunteer in sport.ie, also I would send them the letter that the reasons why you're nominating them, because there's a lot of people that might have coached the kid 20 years ago, and if they got a letter through the door going, listen, I nominate you for this, you were so good to me when I was under 8s or under 10s, you were brilliant and you still are a big member of the club. These great people that are in the club, that's as good as anything. They don't need any national award. If they get that off a player, that'll make their day. And during this time in COVID, if there is older people out there that have spent 30 and 40 years volunteering in clubs and societies around the country, a little letter to them could make a huge difference in the current situation we're in.
No, it's a great shout, actually. I hadn't even thought of that. You know, this isn't just to go to the website and to be processed by people and then looked at by the judges, actually reaching out to say, you really helped me at that one point. You know, it's a little act of kindness. Yeah, no, totally. Yeah. Jimmy, when did you get involved yourself? Like, was there a volunteer when you were a kid who got you into basketball?
Yes, there was. I was first to be taken up by James Hobart, I suppose, going back in the 60s. We had a football club, Kierans football club, my own football club, Aston Stacks. And we used to play, there was a guy, Michal Hayes, who was a school teacher, and he got a group of us of 33 of us together to start playing GAA, hurling, football. And that time there was athletics as well in the GAA, and we did all the three. And then we used to stop in September, and he got a brainwave. He said, look, we must keep this group going to be successful. So James Hobart was the man that came in on board that time, and he coached basketball then for the winter months. And the group kept together, and that was a huge, huge thing for that group to be successful. Growing up as kids, and then it's going in as adults. There were some fantastic players came out of that group. John O'Keefe, George Power, the late Timmy Sheehan, the late Jackie Power, number of fellas. There was 30 of us. And we kept that group together until we were about 18 or 19, until we left secondary school and the guys went to college. But James was the basketball guru in Kerry and basketball guru in Ireland at that time. He was also coach of the Irish senior men's international team. And I just got hooked in the game then myself. I played it and I loved it, and I used to follow it then in the American game and read the books and read the magazines, and that's the way I got hooked into it. And from there then I started coaching ladies teams and especially Lee Strand ladies. We went into the National League and Super League in the 70s and 80s and were very successful. And then I went back in then coaching schools in Tralee, Balloonhook and Mount Hawk and Motherwell. And then I just loved it, and I've travelled all over Europe coaching Irish senior ladies teams, under 18s, 16s and 20s, gone to European Championships for about 10 years. And then the next step then was to go to America, was my dream, and off we went over to Boston and went to colleges over there and got connections, and have gone back there for the last 6 years. Then Kieran came on board with the Warriors plan, and we got together and we met and asked me to get involved. So I got involved as team manager for the last 4 years, and has just been fantastic, great success.
And what I actually don't know what the role of a team manager in basketball is. How does it differ? What would your duties be?
It's multifaceted when it comes to Jimmy. Sure. He's not your normal team manager.
Go on, tell us.
I'd be coming from a kind of a coaching background, you see, you know, so the team manager just wouldn't stop as team manager. I'd have to get my say into the guys' ears when they come off the bench, you know, as Kieran to tell you, if we need to sit down, I'd give him the towel, but at the same time, I'd be inside in his ear for the next move to get in, you know. So there's lots of team managers are very, very important as well. You know, it's a role that I love. I like doing it at this part of my career, I suppose. The young guys are coaching now, and it is very good. And they still listen to me. They still want a bit of advice. So it's all working out well for me anyway at the moment.
Like, Jimmy, where does Kieran rank in terms of the most competitive people that have ever played basketball in Tralee?
Oh, in Ireland. He's one of the best guys I've ever came across. I said it to him, and their tears came from my eyes after one game above in Dublin. We played to win the league there 2 years ago. And what he does, what he gives to the team, what he gives to the sport, what he gives to the youth, what he gives to the whole community. It's a pleasure to be a volunteer then, when you see that development from a guy that I knew when he was 16 and he came through the whole system. Now he has been all over the world as well. He has been everywhere with football and with basketball, but he still puts so much back into it now. And this is what I like about him. He just gives himself 200% everything he puts his mind down to do. And this is the pleasure volunteers get there when they see it continuing. You know, it just doesn't die. If we stop, the sports, as you said yourself, won't continue. With athletics, with swimming, gymnastics, hurling, football, rugby, soccer, we need volunteers. And this is the pleasure you get out of it then after being a volunteer, and see what you produce and what happens.
Look, I think that's a key point here in all this, Kieran, that it's getting harder and harder for people to find the time. And look, what's coming down the tracks is probably not going to be the easiest time for Ireland and for the world in terms of the economy. And again, like, people get so much joy from volunteering as well. That's the other side, that actually it can be a very enjoyable thing to root you back into a community and to make you feel a part of something bigger. Yeah,
look, I suppose we all started in kind of under sixes, under fives in the local GA club. I was down there with my two daughters on Sunday morning in the Stacks, and there was bits of games going on against Nagale, a local club here in the town as well that Jack Barry plays for. And Jesus, the amount of numbers of parents on the sideline and people helping out the kids, and it was two and a half pitches just full of kids running around playing. And you know, like, this epidemic is hard, and we're dealing with a lot of uncertainty and a lot of anxiety about the whole thing and what's going to happen next and how many cases are going to be tomorrow, and will it go up and will it go down, and will schools open and will this open and will we be able to travel to work? There's so much going on. But you know what, I was down there for an hour and I didn't think of anything else for that hour, only kind of going around talking to the kids and kind of showing them how to do a hand pass, and you know, trying not to be with my daughter's group because you know, in fairness, they needed serious minding, considering my 2-year-old Indy was landed into the middle of them as well. So, but I was around watching a few of the games and having little chats with a few of the youngsters, and just the amount of parents, like, you know, when we were young, I don't know, there was definitely not that many parents around the side of the pitch, because of course everybody's dropped now, everybody's waited on, everybody's collected. So there is parents there, and if you're going to be there every week and you've any bit of interest in the football, sure, isn't it a great hour to give up of your time? And they are, and in fairness, the volunteers at that level of underage football in the club is massive. And even Jimmy, going back to our side of it with the Warriors, like, the people we have in the committee there, we've Ger Collins, she's a secretary, the amount of paperwork she's to do, the amount of stuff that she makes for the fans, she goes away and she makes these things that the 12 players give out on game night. It could be an autograph book, but you can see the detail that she goes into to make it, like, hours upon hours upon hours upon hours to give a kid in the crowd an autograph book that they can then go sign afterwards. You know, we've Terry O'Brien, who's a counsellor, you know, and he does so much for us as a chairman, bringing myself and Jimmy and all that gang together when we were trying to get this thing off the ground. And there's 12 or 13 in our committee, and that's every committee of every team and every sport all over Ireland. And committees aren't easy to be on because you have to be political and you have to see both sides of it. You have to try and get your point of view across. But again, whether it's volunteering at that level to bring financial stability to a club, or whether it's volunteering to coach a 6-year-old how to hand pass the ball, whatever role you're doing, if you can do it with that kind of enthusiasm and if you can enjoy doing it, and it doesn't, like, of course, there's nights I go to committee meetings where I'm training the other 3 nights and I'm working the other night away and I don't really want to go, but you know, I see myself as I have to go if it's an important time of the season or whatever, or if there's points I need to try and get across the meeting. So it's that level of stuff that if we can get people no matter what role they have in a club. And that's why club is so important, because not everybody's going to be the next Mikey Sheehy or Maurice Fitzgerald or David Clifford or the Gooch or whatever. You're going to have a guy who's going to be a great secretary for the club down the line. You're going to have a guy who's going to be a great chairman possibly down the line that's playing on the junior B team as of now. So it's the volunteer aspect is obviously huge, and we can't understate it. But I think what Jimmy does for the Warriors is a bit of everything. He's on the committee. He's a team manager. He's also a Hall of Fame coach in Basketball Ireland circles, nominated there last year. And he's a gas man with a few Bacardis and Coke and a night out too, I can assure you.
Yeah.
And Jimmy, if Kieran's having an out rant on the sideline in the middle of a Tralee game, what do you do to stop him?
Well, you just let him blow it out, you know. He's a good man to kind of get himself focused back in again. And yeah, they're a very easy bunch to deal with, you know. Like, players want to play the game, and it's just our job is to kind of manage them, you know, and get them to focus together and to play together and to work for each other. And that's one thing about the basketball. You see, they come out, they come off the court, they have a timeout, they have a substitution. You can talk to them, you can advise them, they can talk to you. How is my game? What am I doing? All that, you know. So that's the intriguing part of coaching basketball, where other sports maybe they mightn't have that, but we have that connection with the players, the assistant coaches, the team managers, the head coach. So it works very well.
And we're getting a bit of that now in the football as well, Jimmy, with the breaks, the water breaks. So like 2 little timeouts, you get a timeout and a half. So it's interesting. It's interesting what way that will be exploited come the championship, hopefully.
The lads with the basketball background are going to have a bit of an advantage when it comes to that. One last point, Jimmy, that Kieran made there about you don't know who's going to be a great club secretary or a great chairperson. I'm very interested in this idea because I think it strikes at the heart of the whole. We need to teach kids to win and lose from the age of 8. If they're not good losers by the time they're 8, they're no good to us. And if they're not intent on winning every single match that they've ever played, then they've got no business playing sports. I kind of think that, like, clubs who look at people as a whole and say, we're here to get you involved in this sport for the rest of your life, and the best are going to rise to the top anyway, and people are naturally competitive. I don't know what you think about that, because I actually just think that so many good administrators in loads of sports and loads of clubs around the world, in Ireland in particular, where there is a win-at-all-cost mentality, that we don't need that. Actually, we just need people to go out and enjoy themselves in their pastime.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. That was the old-fashioned way. That is changing now. Everybody is inclusive now. You must encourage everybody to come to these training sessions, get involved in the training sessions. As you said, the cream will come to the top in every sport. But what you need the volunteers. You need to encourage these people to be a secretary, a treasurer, a chairman, manager, coaches, work in the hall. There's a role for everyone. That's what I tell them. There's a role for everyone. You can get enjoyment from it. There's people involved with the Warriors. We have about 30, and they're all getting enjoyment from it. And they all have a different role. The players are on the court, but these are the backup. And it's fantastic when you see people coming and giving a hand, giving a helping hand. But thank God that philosophy that you were talking about there, win at all costs, is going away from sport. Coaches are being told to behave properly in the sideline. Parents are being told, correct, talk to the children properly and don't be shouting and roaring. That was the old-fashioned way. So I think we will get more, as Kieran says. The parents are coming to the sessions now. They have to stay around there. So it's a good time to tap into them and try and get a role for them, find a role for them within the club and within the structures.
I think you're dead right. Jimmy, great stuff. Kieran, great stuff. Thanks a million for joining us, lads.
Thanks, sir.
Okay.
If you want to nominate a hero from your club, just visit volunteersinsport.ie. Nominations can be made by a club, by an individual or a sporting body, and they're open. They're open now all the way through until the 25th of September. And this is the EBS and the Federation of Irish Sports rewarding the work of volunteers from around the country who go above and beyond every day to ensure that sport takes place.